most people will instruct you to let your creativity go wild. I strongly advise you otherwise. Allow me to explain. 99.9% of the creative people get stuck at the bottom of the music industry mainly because they are being creative. What propels you in the music industry is not creativity but expertise. Expertise comes out of continuous study and training and repetition and not out of coincidental incidents. A person who won the lotto won't be able to build a successful brand. He will be able to buy an established brand which will most probably downfall in the long run. In every industry, there is a ladder upward that you need to climb, and to do that, you need to do one simple thing. Do your bloody job well. And so, you might pretty well ask, isn't creativity a part of doing your job? Well, no. Because who the hell wants to hear your creative, experimental music when you are a fucking nobody at the bottom of the food chain? Even if you produce something worth listening, you will most probably trigger feelings of jealousy rather than feelings of admiration. Nobody wants to deal with you while being at the bottom. And one of the reasons that no one wants to deal with you is because you constantly come up with all those radical ideas and newborn concepts, which theoretically are going to shake up the world's music scene, but they never do. By demonstrating creativity, you fail demonstrating credibility and sustainability. You are either a mad scientist who performs experiments, or you are a conscious doctor that methodically tries to improve his discoveries. And when you are a mad scientist, people in key positions are just going to write you off instead of taking you seriously. Now, the paradox here is that as you climb up the hierarchy ladder, your creativity increases while you feel it decreasing. That happens because along with your creativity, your ability to control it increases too. In the beginning of your music career, you constantly think that you made something extraordinary. And you feel that way only because you are very young and unable to evaluate your creations meritorious. And later on, when you really do radical improvisations, it feels like you do nothing special. However, when being young, when being a newcomer, it's much harder to use creativity to climb up. Creativity isn't one of those things that ratchets you up in hierarchy or increases your competence whatsoever. The market is much more open to consistent producers that have established principles and aesthetics rather than to innovators, to dreamers, and to creative pioneers. And let's face it, creativity is a very abstract and undefined notion. How the fuck are we going to define who is being creative and who is not? The professionals of each industry need to feel safe. They have families to feed. They prefer to invest in a tried and true recipe. And that isn't what a creative person does. A creative person has always a new idea that comes in full contradiction with his previous works. He wakes up and thinks, let's design a landscape without a land. Let's make rock music without a guitar. Let's do things completely different. But label owners are pragmatists. They prefer to invest in something that sells rather than take risks. I can pretty well say that it is very difficult for creative people to monetize their creativity, and most of the time it's an exercise in futility. So what you have to do is stabilize yourself in some sort of traditional domain, and when you manage to make a living, you can call back your creativity and see if you can branch out some sort of creative new product. But it won't work when you try to do it as a newcomer. Oh, I have this brilliant idea that will turn everyone pay attention. No, nobody will pay attention. Grown-up people have seen more than you can possibly imagine. Just consider how awkward would sound if someone told you a year before the corona crisis that we will all walk in the streets wearing masks and that shops will remain closed for months. But now you have seen it. 30 years from now, if a pandemic strikes again, it won't be something new to you. It will still seem something totally new to young people witnessing an epidemic for the first time though. The same applies in every field. You think you've made something radical, but it isn't radical. We, the music industry people, have seen it before. So if you are a creative person and you write music, I would advise you to discipline yourself and to ground yourself in something relatively practical that will enable you to make some sort of living. And attach your creative endeavor on the level that it can contribute to your current style, rather than let your creativity loose.